Welcome to the Power of Partnership podcast, a podcast from Huron County Growth Partnership, leaders in business and community development in Huron County, Ohio. Each month, host Kevin Rasnick shows what the power of partnership is by featuring both insights from the private sector and activities and programs from the nonprofit Public-Private Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Organization. Listeners discover how business, nonprofit, and public leaders align to drive this region of Ohio forward. And welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Power and Partnership podcast. I'm Kevin Rasnick, and alongside me is Collin Rieman, commercial lender from Civista Bank. Collin, thanks for coming onto the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm happy to be here.
So today's topic is entrepreneurship and the Rise Symposium. And from your perspective, when you think of the word entrepreneur, from a commercial lender's standpoint, what does that mean to you, and what are some of the services that Civista can provide for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great starting point here for the conversation. When I think entrepreneur, I really think kind of two facets. One is business ownership, and then the second is some sort of risk factor along with that. So, someone might be an entrepreneur. They might, be a startup business, might be a business that family business they're inheriting or stepping into, or it could even be something that they're purchasing and looking to take over. But some sort of business ownership, and then beyond that, it is definitely a level of risk that is probably higher than the typical person sees or has in their day-to-day career. You're kind of responsible for everything that happens at your business. Once you start having employees, you're kind of responsible for them. So there's certainly a higher level of risk there when you're an entrepreneur. And, from my perspective, from the banking perspective, the successful entrepreneurs seem to be able to kind of manage that risk pretty well. They know what they're getting into. They know there's a little bit higher level of risk, and they're able to kind of work around it and manage it. And then from a banking perspective, what Civista offers is we really aim to be a one-stop shop for someone like that. Especially from a small business perspective. I mean, we handle businesses of all sizes and scales, but, just talking small business, what we're looking to do is really be a one-stop shop for somebody from, deposits and some of the different deposit offerings that we can provide them to, as they scale their business, maybe some treasury management services that might automate some things, lower some of that risk, again, kind of as they scale, and hopefully, again, we can scale with you. And then from a lending perspective as well, kind of what I handle is the loan side and being able to offer a product that is going to meet a small business owner's needs, having them, being a community bank. I think the other factor is that Civista, brings to the table really is the service level. You're working with someone from the community, from the top down, frankly. And so, again, thinking about it from a small business perspective, at least from a lending perspective, more than happy to have someone stop in, sit down, chat with me, see what they're looking to do, kind of explain a scenario, and then get back to them with some products and services that we can offer that, even if they're a little bit customized, to be able to work with them to kind of meet what they need, meet the demand they're seeing, or hopefully maybe limit some risks that they're seeing as well.
So really from your perspective, if you're an entrepreneur looking to start a business, really starting with your local banks is probably the best way to go to get the best service you possibly can get.
Yeah, I think so. Again, that's kind of what we strive to be is a community, a community-oriented bank, and obviously, small businesses are a huge part of the community, and so we really want to see them successful and see them thrive and see more of them grow in the community. And we want to be there from the start and all the way through, being relationship-oriented. To hopefully growing to having, dozens, not hundreds of employees and so on and so forth. But, always happy to build that relationship from the start and get someone on the right footing from the get-go.
Well, we're also here to talk about the Rise Symposium. But before we get to the Rise Symposium, I just want to talk briefly about what the Rise program is. And Rise stands for Regional Incubator for Sustainable and Entrepreneurship. Through the Huron County Growth Partnership, the RISE program offers free consulting in a variety of levels, from anything to workshopping an idea, advice on creating a business plan, to an exit strategy for someone looking to transition out of their business. Again, it is a completely free service through the Huron County Growth Partnership, really meant for any stage of entrepreneurship. And Collin, I know you're familiar with the RISE program, and how important is it for entrepreneurs in our area to have the RISE program available to them?
Well, I think it's great. Again, it kind of circles back to just being that community service. Obviously, this is outside the bank, but goes right along with it, and I think is complementary to promoting the communities that we serve, together. And like you said, it's a free service. It's free consultation. So, while I know business owners kind of, don't have the most time ever, that's really only the only thing it costs you is time to be able to utilize that service. And so, And then speaking on it from a banking perspective, I think where I see a lot of benefit is from someone looking to start up their own business. A lot of times, again, kind of what I see in some of the early conversations I have with young entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs in general that are looking to get that first step is they don't really realize how many kind of chess pieces, I think is a good analogy, that they're working with. And they kind of all have to be, working alongside each other. And I think Rise, that's not really something I can talk about from the bank's perspective because, I really only want to handle the loan and banking services. And there's kind of a conflict of interest there. I don't want to tell someone how to start up their business, do anything along those lines. But being able to refer someone to the Rise, Rise program and the services that they offer, I think I've seen it done. I've seen it where Rise does a great job of kind of laying out all those chess pieces, going, hey, here's what you're working with. Maybe you found a spot that you want to open a business, but whether it's a purchase or a lease, but hey, you got to have that banking piece involved too. You need to have some funds to maybe get that, a startup loan, something like that. And then it kind of trickles down going, but you can't really move that loan piece until you get a business plan in place. So let's talk about the business plan. Let's see, let's really narrow down what you're looking to do with this business, how successful you think it's going to be. Let's put some projections together. And that kind of flows all the way through from, setting the entrepreneur up for success, setting them up for success maybe from a lending perspective or from a banking perspective. And then, it trickles down to them successfully maybe moving into a place of business that they want to operate out of.
Yeah, I appreciate you working with us in the RISE program, and hopefully, as you've seen, those who've worked with us, when they have that conversation with you, are a little bit more prepared, and they can anticipate maybe some of the questions that you may ask.
Yeah, absolutely. The experience that the RISE coordinators and the RISE team has, and working with a variety of different customers, entrepreneurs, business owners, whether startup or existing business owners, that experience really brings a lot to the table. And kind of, like I said earlier, it helps lay out all the chess pieces in front of somebody going, hey, here's all the different factors you got to consider. And here's some of the experiences that we've seen. Here's some of the successful operations, the successful ways that we've seen people move forward with their business, whether it's a startup or just taking it to that next level. And maybe it's opening a second place of business. Had a successful first place, want to move into a new community, a new town, or maybe, just set up another shop on the other side of town, something along those lines. But being able to, again, a free consultation with somebody that deals with a variety of businesses through the RISE program, the coordinators there, being able to utilize those resources, even if it's just one piece of advice that maybe you hadn't thought of, could go a long way for somebody, and I've certainly seen it be successful in from the banking perspective as well, with customers coming to the table being all that more prepared and helping the bank help them move forward.
Well, again, we remind everybody to join us at the RISE Symposium, April 11th, coming up here not too much longer as we record this. It's at the BGSU Firelands Small Business Symposium, a must-attend event for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals looking to expand their network and explore the power of collaboration. Hosted at the Cedar Point Center at the campus of BGSU Firelands, the symposium will offer a full day of valuable insights, meaningful connections, and actionable strategies to help you broaden your horizons and grow your business. To register for the symposium, visit the RISE Regional Incubator for Sustainability and Entrepreneurship Facebook page, or you can email me, Rasnick, Krasnick, at HuronCountyOhio.com. If you're interested in booking a RISE appointment or have any questions about RISE, please use that same email address to get a hold of me, or call me at 419-668-4155. And again, the RISE program and all the things, that's the events that we have, the consulting that we do. Certainly, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in the beginning stages or whatever stage you are, feel free to use RISE as a resource. Lastly, Collin, before we let you go, I kind of want to ask anyone who's listening, if they're considering taking their first step in their entrepreneurship journey, how would you describe the current market and conditions for running a business and current lending conditions, and why does that matter?
Yeah, no, I think the best way to say or answer that question is really, I think it's as good a time as any. I think the market conditions aren't going to make you or break you from having a successful start to your business or not, or expanding your business there. And so I think the make or break thing is that's kind of out the window. And in the current conditions, it's really, like I said from the beginning of this answer is as good a time as any. And the reason I say that is kind of going back to what I spoke to at the start of this conversation is there's always a level of risk involved with starting your own business. And so knowing the risk, going, hey, there might never be a perfect time. There might never be the perfect conditions, or, those perfect conditions might come in 20 or 30 years. And that's, that doesn't line up well with when I want to get going and start my business. And so, again, knowing that there's that risk of, there's probably never going to be those absolute perfect conditions, and getting comfortable with those, trying to manage those risks to the best of your ability, and making the most of the current conditions, I think is really what's going to make someone successful. And, I don't see anything in the market that would prevent someone from getting started, taking that next step, starting their own business, or, again, maybe taking their current business to the next level, expanding on it, anything along those lines. I think the current lending conditions are right in line with historical levels. If you're looking at COVID level rates and different things like that, obviously that's kind of a once in a lifetime scenario, and that's really the exception, not the norm during those periods. So I think from a rate perspective, and then different products the bank's offering in terms of lending, not just here, but across the board, any bank in the area. Again, I think you're going to have all the products and services available to you that you're going to need to have a successful start to your operation or successful expansion. And so, if you're ready to take that next step, again, kind of as good a time as any.
Sure. Well, Collin, thank you so much for your time and coming out here, kind of giving your thoughts and perspective to entrepreneurship and the things that Civista can help entrepreneurs with. So again, appreciate you stopping out.
Yeah, no, Kevin, thanks for having me. Happy to be here, and thanks for the nice conversation.
All right, well, I also want to give some thank yous to K96 here in the K96 studios recording this podcast. We appreciate partnering with them, talking about Power Partnership. And thank you to all of our members of the Huron County Growth Partnership as well. We appreciate you investing in us, and we try to make sure we do what's best for certainly you and all the business communities, or business community in the area. So again, appreciate you listening, and stay tuned next month for a new podcast and a new topic with a new guest. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Power of Partnership podcast. Stay tuned for a new episode each month as myself and a guest will explore topics that are affecting the economic development, the business community, and the Huron County Growth Partnership in the coming months.
Civista Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.